However, we need to amend it and move the SRO discussion to the very front because they have another meeting to be at. So, can I get a motion?
I'll make that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so we're gonna kick off the SRO discussion. Mr. Fleming and Chief Jones?
Well, we're here to answer your questions. I've given the superintendent our proposal for a contract based on last year. It really worked out for the school last year because when you were closed, you didn't pay. So in the previous contracts we had, we just split it 50-50, was not tied to days of school or anything like that. So if the SRO officer is on campus, then we bill you for it. If they're not, like they are now, where you've allowed us to use Tony to cover the roads, then you don't see a bill. So I think it's the most fair contract that we can offer. And I know you all have some questions. You should know, hopefully, St. James Press does a great job of covering all the city council meetings, and that we are 2 officers short. We're still 2 officers short. And I'll let the chief speak to how that's going as far as filling those positions. But that's kind of our dilemma is, you know, we're already messing with shifts to try and make sure that the city is covered 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even with 2 officers short. So, you know, if sickness and things happen, I couldn't guarantee that you would have an SRO officer every single day, even if we're at full staff. So, any questions for me?
Okay, so you said previously we were paying 50-50. Now we're just paying the days they're here. What does that boil down to about percentage-wise?
Percentage-wise, your school year is 70% of an officer's time for the year.
we're
So
paying
the
70.
contract would be based on 70% of the cost of that officer. Actually, Tony. So, you know, he's been your SRO officer, that's who we think you want. So it's 70% of his total loaded expense. So that's retirement, insurance, workman's comp, you know, what it costs to have an employee.
What's a full-time officer cost outside of those costs? Outside of insurance and all of that?
Depends on how the age of the, you know,
Okay.
how the experience of the officer.
Let's do one right out of the academy.
Starting wage is 18.
Well, yeah,
It will be $18 an hour at May 1st. That's what
Okay.
we just passed. So I think that takes us to approximately 37,000 a year.
37,440.
Thank you.
So is there any ideas of going full staff plus 1? And what if the school decided, and just spitballing, paying a salary for a new officer, and that is a dedicated officer to this school, doesn't matter if you guys are down 2 or not, but you would still cover their insurance and things like that? Is that an option or a thought?
Well, not in this fiscal year. So maybe for 2023, I've been working on how much money we have to put another officer on so that we would have, counting the chief, 11 police in the force. And that would give us some flexibility for illnesses and that sort of thing, which we don't have now. But, you know, be aware, we have an incident like we did down on Washington, and we're going to pull that officer to respond. So, you know, in cases of emergency, it's all hands on deck. But yeah, Ron has been lobbying hard for that for 2 years now. But that and trying to stay competitive with our surrounding areas that keep pilfering our officers, it's probably looking at $100,000 in the budget. So, you know, I'm not sure our city council has the stomach to go out and ask the taxpayers for that kind of money right now. Not with COVID and people still out of work, and, you know, we just had that huge cold event in February that we're gonna have to pass on those exorbitant gas bills that we had. So, you know, that's same balancing act you guys do with the budget.
So if the school were looking at, we used to have two, now we're down to one. If we were looking to bring back a second SRO in this year or next year, would it still be the 70-30 cut? Is that what?
For each officer, well, it depends on whether we can use that officer in the summer. If we've already gone to 11, and now we've got a force of 12 with 2 dedicated to the schools, you know, the question is, what do we do with that other 30%? So,
So just to follow up where he's coming from, so the last 13, 14 years I've been here, this is the only time we've ever been shorthanded like this for this period of time. We're not the only ones feeling this. Rolla Police Department, the Sheriff's Department, no one's applying to be a cop anymore, which is a rough issue. I've got applications sitting on my desk, it's just going through them and finding qualified applicants. I've got interviews tomorrow. My hope is by the end of, before summer hits, middle of summer, we have some people hired and we're training them and to get Tony back here full time. In the meantime, since Tony's been with us, which I thank you guys for letting us utilize him, and it helps me to look for other people and cover the road. I've been in the schools almost every single day. Monday through Friday, I walk through all the schools, I check in with everybody, see if anybody needs anything.
using the microphone?
Oh,
So the
I
folks
just
at home
belt
can
it
hear
out. Oh. So I'm walking through the schools every single day, checking in with staff, principals. Me and Dr. Johnson's talk frequently. Trying to make sure that the school isn't missing out on anything. And even though you guys aren't paying for Officer Gray right now, we are paying for him the last couple of months. The school's not out any money. I want to make sure that we're still a presence in the school. So we're there in the morning times at the crosswalk. After school, we have 3 officers out there, which is hard sometimes if we at least get 2 out there, if we're not running calls to make sure everything runs smoothly. Parents get through there, kids get out safely. I've come in on my days off just to do traffic control to go back home, just to make sure everything goes as smoothly as it can. So I've been working really, really hard to make sure we keep this relationship between the police department and the school and we don't lose this. I think it's really, really important that we do have an SRO officer in the school. We went from 1 to 2, back to 1. I at least want to keep the 1. Again, we're getting more applications in. We have academies graduating here soon. I'm hoping to pull some applicants from there. But again, we're moving forward trying to get us back up to full staff to make sure Tony can be with you guys 100% of the time. But in the meantime, again, we've been at the school quite a bit, making sure things are going okay. Principal's been able to call my cell phone. I've been there immediately and to take care of things and do stuff. So I don't think we skipped much a beat without Tony being there. I mean, obviously having his presence there throughout the day, going from school to school, but I've still been able to walk through each school and deal with issues and stuff like that. And as soon as Tony gets back, I'll hand you guys something around. So every time Tony goes to a school, it logs how long he was at the school, what school he was at, if he pulled any reports or case numbers. So you guys will have access to that data, be able to look at it and see, you know, what you're getting, what he's been doing, and different things like that. So once he gets back with that, I'll pass it around. You guys can take a look at that. You guys have any questions? As far as the money goes, not a whole lot I can say or do one way or the other about that. Whichever way this goes, obviously, we're still going to want to continue to push forward. And I do want a St. James officer in the St. James School District. I know in the past we've had other departments in there, but I'd really like to keep our officers here in the school district working together here in the community.
So just so you guys realize, there have not been any academies because of COVID. So they're not, even though they're opened up now, and there's not large classes going through because people don't want to be police officers. For a year, there haven't been any academies. So there's a real shortage. Rolla's scraping by right now. Even MS&T is having trouble. So, you know, it's not just our agency. And we're competing. We're in a wage war. So, you know, with this fiscal year, we're trying to close the gap with Rolla. You fight the same thing with teachers. We were at an $8,000 a year disadvantage. Now we closed it to $5,000. Rumor has it they're taking their use tax and bumping it up even higher. So, you know, it's, Ron's not happy about it, but he realizes we will always be the training center for our competition in the area. But what we want to do is get the officers, have them stay with us for 3 or 4 years before they move on, and so we can have a stable force. So one thing that I am really proud of is that this is a very professional group that we have for a town of 4,500. They de-escalate a lot of situations. They're very professional. They, handle people that are totally out of control. It's not what you see on TV. These guys are calm, cool, and collected, and a group to be proud of. And, we don't want to just hire anybody that comes in and ruin that group that we have. So, Ron is being selective. Unfortunately, we haven't had anybody to be selective with. So, hopefully, we can start that process with these few interviews that we have. So that's kind of where we are, gang.
And just to touch on the training ground, in the past, that was the issue. Our pay has gone up quite a bit. Again, this is, in the years that I've been here, this is the longest time we've ever been without officers. It's not due to lack of people, officers being out there not wanting to work for St. James, just, there's not a lot of officers out there who are applying or have gone through the academies, like you said. So, we have a lot of officers here, Officer Gray and myself, Gaddy, Sergeant Pig, Lieutenant Pig have all been here quite some time now. We've got a couple other officers who don't plan on going anywhere. So, again, it's trying to find the right person, the right officer. I just don't want to fill a slot, have somebody come in. I want to make sure we get the right person who's going to be, work well with our officers, work well with the community, and strive for what we strive for at the police department. And I've passed around a sheet you guys can take a look at. So that's what I was talking about. It documents every time Tony goes into a school, what he does in the school.
I appreciate you guys coming in. I think the school stance is we would like a dedicated SRO, and I think you understand that every single day. However, what you're saying is we just don't have enough people to choose from, and even if we were to try to get our own person, who's to say they would work for us and not, would they rather work for you or they'd rather work for us? I mean, it depends on what we pay, right? So.
Well, I mean, if you guys did hire an officer from somewhere, wherever it had to be, they'd have to be post-certified police officer, so they would have to be through us either way, or have a post-commission through Phelps County or something if you're gonna hire somebody that's totally dedicated to you. Again, I'm striving really hard to make sure throughout this summer we get those 2 other officers hired, so Gray can come back to the school full-time.
It's a situational thing. I really feel like the school's willing to spend the money, the budget for an SRO, but right now it's just really difficult, what you're saying.
Yes.
So have we passed an SRO for next year? What do you need?
I mean, we're gonna leave that amount of money in the budget, and then if we don't spend it, if nothing changes for next year, then we will just be charged on a per day use basis.
And still leaving just one, correct?
Yes. Like we presently have this year, unless things get better, and then the goal would be someday to get back to 2. If that's that's our goal, and it just, because of you're losing your staff, we couldn't do that this year.
Right.
So if I understand correctly, now, if Ron is able to get the people that he needs, would we even consider 2 next year?
I think the board made it clear 2 years or 3 years ago that we wanted 2.
Yes, we do.
Well, when Officer Riggs, she got another job, so, or whatever happened, you couldn't give us 2, so we got 1. We said, okay, we'll go down, because we did split 2 in half. We budgeted basically for 1,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we were sharing that cost with the city. So when they went down, they said we can only give you 1, then we just said we will keep that level, that same amount of funding for the 2 halves, instead we're paying for one full. And so that's what we're doing this year, but because of the situation of not having enough officers, you've been pulling from the school, which is every day is gonna be a deduction for that monthly invoice. So we're
But-
getting monthly
But
invoices.
Right,
We-
go ahead, Tina.
But we're not paying 100% of one.
Not right now.
That's how it was
Yeah.
kind of perceived.
Yeah.
Like you said, we were going from 50-50 to 100%, and it's
Of
really
one.
775.
No. The way I understood it was we were 50-50 on the cost of it before, and now we're 100% of the cost of one. Well, we're 70% because that's how long they're here.
Well, that's 70% of their whole school, or the whole
So,
fiscal year.
so
for
we
the-
would have been 35%.
They're only
before.
looking at our school days. Our school days is 70%, like 174
That's
days.
what we initially discussed. Initially, we were going for school days and hours that he was here with the school.
Yes. They look at their year, the school year to them is 70%. It's 100% to us.
I just wanna make sure then, if it works out, that we would still budget for 2? Is that what I'm understanding? If Ron gets the people?
Right now, our budget number's right in the
Just for one.
$40,000 range. That hasn't changed.
That would be one.
$40,000
Right,
range.
that's one, but,
Yes. We've never budgeted
But
for
we-
80,000.
okay, but we've only had one because of all the situations that have
Correct.
occurred.
The city was splitting the cost with us
Right,
before.
so is the city willing to split the cost again if we find the 2, is what I'm asking?
Would the city go
And I
back to
think,
splitting
Jim,
that
you
cost?
say no, right?
No.
Okay,
So then
Because
if we
you-
want to, we'll have to double our budget.
okay.
Yeah, put 80,000 in, and then Ron and I will figure out what to do with the other officer in the summertime.
So what was 50/50 before? We're talking 80,000 for
It was
70/30.
right in that $40,000 range.
I guess I'm just confused at how we
Okay.
went from 50% to 70% and doubled how much we
Don't
paid.
think about 70%. It's 100% of our school year. They're saying 70% of the, of the calendar
their-
year.
Of the
okay.
calendar
Oh,
year,
pretty much.
right.
Now it's coming.
30%.
Yeah, the rest of us work all year long, you know?
Okay.
But you also have to remember that the 20,000 was kind of an arbitrary figure. I mean, our officers cost more than 20,000. They were looking at strictly the hourly pay at the time. And, you know, the cities, I came in and I said, hey, that's not fair. You guys are not paying half. You're paying about 70%. And you're only getting 30% of the officer. We need to make this fair to the citizens of St. James. So, I mean, if something happens at the school, our police are going to respond regardless. You know, I mean, the advantage we get with the SRO is that interaction with the kids. They see a policeman in a positive atmosphere, not, you know, well, we know what goes on at home. So, you know, this is an opportunity for the kids young to realize that, hey, I can trust the police. I can go to the police because in some of our kids' lives, they need that to be able to feel like that. So yes, if you want to budget that, I would put $80,000 in your budget for next year.
That's a decision we'll have to make when we get to our budget.
Thank you for taking the time to come in.
Yes.
One last question. So if I'm able to get 2 other officers
Now, you're
hired-
saying that might not be possible.
I didn't say that.
Yeah.
I said he said that. I said I'm working my very best right now to try to get 2
Right.
officers hired throughout this summer. I have interviews tomorrow. Interviews will be coming up 1st of May when Caddy's gonna graduate. I really want to get somebody hired. I'm not saying I'm 100% gonna. I'm not saying that I can't. Working very hard at getting that done. If the school doesn't want the SRO officer this year, I'm still gonna continue to come to schools and do what we need to do. I'm just saying that I'm confident I can hopefully get 2 hired, if not even 1 hired. I could still take Tony over here, because as it is now, I'm running shifts and running calls, and I'm in the schools at the same time, so.
Thank you, Ron.
So pretty much if we want to, we need to let them know in ample time so they can.
My goal
Hire
is
somebody.
just to, even if we can get 1 this next school year coming up, I can get Tony back in the school and I get 2 hired.
We
I'd be
want
happy with
to,
that.
we want to, but are we willing to pay for 2? That's the question, so.
I am, but I'm just one person, so what I figured out.
But we're telling him we definitely want Tony.
Yes.
Yeah, that was my main thing, is just to make sure, like I said, I'm trying to get the 2 hired now so I can get Tony pushed back over to the
Yeah.
school at the beginning of this next school year.
Any other questions, comments? Anything to add? No? Okay, I think you 2 are free.
Thank you.
And Tony's free.
And Tony can leave too, unless he wants to hang out.
Tony, doesn't it feel good to be wanted?
I'm back to here with paperwork.
All right. So now we're on to recognitions. So we have band recognitions, which are listed here. Do we have somebody dialing in to talk to us, or are we just looking these over?
He was supposed to be here.
Okay.
Mr. Lindbeck?
No.
Okay, well, we have a long list here of district concert band, district jazz band, conference band, middle school district band. There are a lot of kids doing good things on our end, from what I'm seeing.
Maybe they'll
And I
show up.
guess if Mr. Limback shows up, we'll let him talk about him. If not, move on. We are going to share good things. One thing we have in here is Mrs. Moreland's classroom mission statement, which they drew up and hung around the school, I'm hearing. Is that?
Yes, so they took the initiative to organize this. The kids did this, they created this, and they don't just memorize the mission statement, but they actually try to figure out and define what it means to them and how they're going to benefit from it. So they understand why we're doing what we're doing and how that's going to benefit them as students, and they talk about it. So that's been a really positive thing. I appreciate the teachers for putting this together, and the kids actually did this. So the kids, that's awesome, and so just wanted to commend them, and they've been really living out the mission of our CSIP. So.
Very cool. So the elementary and middle school schools were named Capturing Kids' Hearts National Showcase Schools once again. How many years is that, Karen and Dan?
3 for us, I think, or 5.
Awesome.
It's an awesome accomplishment.
Yep. Does anybody else have any more good things to share?
And Barb Wilson was selected as the South Central School Counselor of the Year just recently. So that's very cool to have her recognized in that capacity.
All right. They did. Any statements from patrons today? All right, election results. We did not hold an election because the exact number of board members applied as seats were open. Way to write your name down, guys. All right, so now Shannon's going to do the oath of office to those two guys. I will support the Constitution of the United States.
All right. Congratulations, you two. Moving on to item C on the agenda, the election of the Board of Officers. And right now, I'll be acting as temporary chairman, and I will accept nominations for the office of president for the Board of Education.
I move that we accept him by acclamation.
Are there any other nominations first? Okay. Say if not, Tim Wilson has been nominated to serve as president for the Board of Education. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Congratulations, Tim. You're the man. Okay, so I will now go ahead and accept nominations for the office of vice president for the Board of Education. Okay, so we have a nomination for Tina. Are there any other nominations? If not, I will close nominations. Tina Spurgeon has been nominated to serve as Vice President for the Board of Education. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Congratulations, Tina. Mr. Wilson, the meeting is yours. Got your mic on?
Turn it on now.
There you go.
First off, thank you guys for nominating me in, I think. So, Tina, you've done a really good job in the short term that you have been here, but really appreciate it and really applaud you for stepping up to this as well. It's been really a great year so far, and we'll get ready for a new tradition here, and unlike any other, after we just finished the Masters. So, what's wrong with that, John? So that we need to do the MSBA
The
delegate?
MSBA delegate, yeah.
Okay. Why is mine not coming up here? There we go. Okay, so we need to nominate a secretary of the board. I will open for any nominations.
I nominate Shannon.
Do we need a second on that? Nope.
I don't think so.
Any other nominations? Okay, Shannon Parsons has been nominated to be the board secretary. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations, Shannon. And we also need to nominate a financial person. Let's see, where am I? Treasurer of the schools. And I'll take any nominations at this time.
I nominate Susan.
Any other nominations? All right. All of those in favor of Susan, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, congratulations, Susan. Is she here? I hope she's excited.
I bet she's really excited.
I bet she's real excited.
She's under the
there.
weather. She would be here tonight, but she's not feeling
All
good.
right, did I miss anything else then?
No.
Nope, okay. Then the MSBA delegate. So was this did we serve, who served this last year?
Carl used to serve,
Okay.
and it's a legislative, someone who's interested in getting into the politics and the legislation aspect of it, keeping up with the bills and things going on with the legislative session. So Carl did a really good job with that, representing our school district.
All right, so we would like this delegate to serve on the Regional Action Committee for Region 12 as well. I would like to take any nominations for a MSBA delegate.
I nominate John Rapp. I like that I can make motions again. This is awesome.
Any other nominations? Man, this is awesome. There's been a nomination for John Rapp. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations,
Thank you
John.
so much.
Yeah, hey. All right, so we're on to presentations. Looks like our first presentation, Mr. Cahill is going to give us an update to the CSIP Leadership Goal 6 concerning safety plans.
Come on up to the mic.
Everything's fine.
Super.
There's nothing to worry about. No, so we've processed through the year. We're still open. COVID, we've been looking at things. We did surveys about school safety during COVID. And oddly enough, the results is we were shooting for at least 90% of our students feel safe coming to and going home from school and while they're at school. And all three buildings wound up in the 80s. So during COVID, I thought that was phenomenal. We've worked with the safety committee, and really the only boil downs that we've gotten out of some of the information is that they'd like to see more active drills or at least more walk-through drills, so it's more real life than pre-planned. So you guys didn't hear that. So we'll be looking at that moving forward, and that's predominantly where our efforts are going to be focused, is in the drill area, and making sure that all stakeholders have that, not only the students, but the community and at large. So that's where we're at. Also, just something else to think about when you're thinking about the SRO, because I've kind of missed that interaction. I know the chief's been working with the principals and doing an amazing job in the interim. But when you have an SRO, not only do you get the pull information when you contact the police department, You get the push information because they get all of that security-minded information, and it's really easy to get that from them when they're here. It's that kind of small, soft skill stuff that you miss when you don't see it. So, other than that, do you have any questions about where we're headed with safety or what else we can do? Do you guys have any glaring gotchas that you see around, other than these and the annual painting? We got several areas where we want to touch up, but
All right, and now on to insurance. So Mr. Scott is here to update us on the district's medical insurance renewal for 2021-2022.
Thank you. Put that up, or we can just go over it on here instead of the PowerPoint. Oh boy, look at that. So every year, we'll go out, this is our first year with you as a broker, and we'd go out and we get bids from all the insurance companies. So in your area, primarily, in the St. Louis Metro as well, there's 4 companies: Aetna, Cigna, United Healthcare, and Anthem. We moved you out of a consortium last year. The consortium was, it fell apart. So we tried to partner with you, and I think we did a good job with it. Our commitment to you, give you an idea, your prior broker was at 5% commission. We're at 7/10 of commission, 7/10 of 1%. So you guys were in a bad spot, and we made a commitment to help you, and that's what we're renewing at as well. So we made a lot of progress. We'll kind of cover that. We ran at over 120% loss ratio last year, and what that means is that for every dollar paid in premium, the insurance company paid out over $1.20 in claims, and they like that to be around 80. So each year we fight the battle of medical inflation and pharmacy inflation. That's about 10% a year, and then this year we had lovely COVID impact too. And depending on the insurance company and the client, the impact was 4 to 8%. We had some impact here, so we'll kind of look at this. This is our current rates and plan designs, and we did have a wellness program that we put in as well this past year, and it rewarded the employees with $50 Visa cards, and they could get up to $200 just for doing the right things. If they got their flu shot and got their wellness physical for the year, Anthem would send them $100. If they participated in the wellness program online, which again, none of it costs them anything, they got another $50. If they filled out a health risk assessment, another $50. So we'll continue that. I think it promoted wellness and kind of turned what we were doing. Our claims experience improved. We ran, still a little hot. We were 104%, but we're on the right track. We had 2 large claims that are non-reoccurring. So it's not anything that's going to keep coming back year after year, and that accounted for close to 50% of our claims. So the next year looks bright. We also handled some neighboring schools that were in similar situations, and they didn't have those 2 abnormal claim type things happen, and they're actually getting decreases. And that's our goal for you guys. We're tracking very well. So the other thing that we did to try to encourage wellness is on your health savings accounts, we did what's called an expanded preventative list. And what that does is makes preventative drugs available at no cost on the HSA. And normally everything is paid up front on an HSA. So when we say expanded, we're talking about high blood pressure medication, diabetic medication, high cholesterol, even
mental illness, MS, breast cancer, preventative medications are all free, paid at 100%. So we've seen good usage on that as well. Our renewal came in at 6%, which obviously is below trend and below COVID range. We were pleased with that. It started out higher. We were able to get competitive bids from United Healthcare, came in competitive, which was encouraging because we had left them the year before when you guys were in the consortium, and they were willing to bid us. So being able to keep all of our marketplaces open for next year is encouraging because I do feel like we'll have a good year. So we kept the wellness on there. We also, again, we try to be as transparent as we can. The insurance company is covering our tech costs, so we supply you with a online enrollment system and tracking system for all your benefits, the medical and the ancillary, and we absorbed that cost last year, and they're helping us out on that, but it's still no cost to you. To give you an idea, previously you were paying $3.50 per an employee per month for that, and then another $2.50 for administrative costs on top of it. So we saved you about $6 per employee per month on that as well. So this is I didn't want to get too deep in the weeds with you guys. This is a 39-page report that we go through with Dr. Johnson and Ms. Jane. But this just kind of gives you an idea of our utilization, and we look at what's coming on as far as what we have in ongoing prescriptions, and that gives us an idea of what our claim base is outside of any, abnormal claims that we might have. So that's, we try to monitor that and our inpatient usage, our generic usage. You can see on the left, Shannon, if you can go back down just a little, right there. That's good. Oh, it's you? Time to get in line. If you see down below in the left-hand corner, the bulk of our claims are below, they're at 0 to 999, and that's what's encouraging. We had 2 claims, one close to 300,000, another one almost 200,000. Again, that made up half our claims. So again, we're tracking well. So if you go to the next one, you kind of focus on the bottom right-hand corner. This shows you what our current claims were through the first 6 months. Our premiums were $1,039,000 and our claims were $1,001,000. So, and then what we look at is it takes about 3 months for claims to process and hit the reports. So we're missing a little over 3 months for that to catch up and become what we call mature claims. So, like I said, we're running a little bit hot, but it's only because of 2 claims. Our regular medications and day-to-day usage is good. Our generic usage is almost 88%. The norm is 83%. Dr. Johnson, I think we were running at 79% previously. So we've had a large improvement there. Again, the wellness initiatives, I think, has helped that. So don't really blow into this one too close. This just lists the claims, and I come from Washington, I come from a small town too, and I don't want to have everybody say, oh, I know who that person is, I know who that person is. But if you wanted to know the exact amounts, I think it was 287, and the other one was in the 187 or 197 range. So, but again, both non-recurring. So the other thing, your ancillaries were all locked in for 2 years, so we had no price change. But again, it doesn't mean that we don't go out and shop them. I always tell Dr. Johnson, they're married to us for 2 years, we're just dating them. So we go out and test the market, and The dental, we found a nice savings on. If we improve the oral surgery benefit from 50% on your complex to 80, and 60% in network to 90, so big improvement there. Our child ortho goes down to a limit of 19, which is the norm, and we have nobody in braces above 19 right now, so we didn't impact anybody. And if you go down a little bit, you can see we were able to save $18,000, 20%, and lock that rate in for 2 years as well. So we know we're not just, getting a teaser rate, and we'll have it for 2 years. And Standard also handles the rest of our benefits. So, questions?
Thank you very much.
We appreciate the opportunity and enjoy the relationship, and very sad to see Dr. Johnson go. He's I know you guys have a good one there, so
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Scott. So the HSA option 3 that we presently have at 642, at current rate, that would be going up to 681, which is $38.56 a difference. When you put all that together, it's if we were to stay with that HSA option 3 as our base benefit that the board covers, it would be an $87,000 increase to our budget. So that's something that when we get to action topics, that we'll have to decide if we're going to do that. So.
Okay.
Thank you, Scott.
All right. Thank you. All right, I need a
And we're gonna do that.
motion to adopt the consent agenda.
We're gonna do that here.
So moved. Second.
Second.
Okay, we don't have an addendum for April,
Action topics are here.
or I
If
don't.
they have any questions, but it might take a
The B card report,
card?
the warrants, we don't have.
Don't have the other one, nope.
It usually comes late.
I'll put you on.
I'm sorry. That's one of them that I
Just
read
got-
every,
I'll tell you what.
sorry, Tim.
Dang it, another thing I gotta look at. So- Now Shannon's under the gun, so.
It goes there.
There it is. You wanna look it over?
I think it's
Yep.
okay. So
Yep.
No, so
Sorry.
that we could live stream these.
Yeah.
The guy pointed just meant mostly right at you.
Is that?
Right at you. That one actually.
Awesome.
Right at you.
Thanks, Wes. Is-
I'm
Good.
good whenever.
Okay. Okay. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we have a consent agenda. And to discussion topics, and we already pretty much did that one, first one, right? Or do you want any more on it? Or?
No, there's nothing more to say.
Okay. So we'll go on to the substitute pay increase.
Yes, so I created a salary benefits comparison. One of the comparisons was 14 districts in the area that, we looked at subpay. So if you look at, if you can click on that and you can just look at where we stand. And this is, I believe Shannon maybe updated this to what we approved for the second semester due to COVID, and where we stand in the 14 school area. And just, my thought is we need to go up again for our subs. And so This is discussion topic only. So we're looking at moving to our substitute pairs at 95. If you want to go to the other document. The substitute for teacher, substitute just for, it holds a certificate and or holds a teaching certificate but no previous tenure, $100. And then if someone has tenure, had proven tenure, that'd be $110 a day. And that would keep us, that would get us pretty competitive and be able to get hopefully the best subs in the area. Subs are important. A good sub can make a big difference. We want to give our kids, when our teachers are gone, the best possible replacement they deserve. So,
With our increase that we currently went to now, were we still having problems getting subs? You know,
you can ask the principals,
Yeah.
did it help?
We always have problems with subs. And honestly, in lots of them where it says if you'll do middle school, it says no. It's.
I
it
can
is what it is.
understand
I
that.
don't know if you have that problem, but
Yeah.
I'm not opposed by any means, but one thing that stands out to me is all the schools that touch us, we're above.
Yes.
So how far are people traveling? I mean, are they really traveling from Washington to sub for us?
No, but we don't want to be behind Rolla, right?
We're not.
So we don't have to do this. This
I
is
mean,
discussion.
I'm not
Yeah,
arguing,
yeah.
I'm not opposed, I
Yeah.
just, what stood out was we're already ahead of everybody that touches us. Just throwing that out there.
Subs drive beyond our neighboring districts sometimes.
Okay.
And like I said, this is just a discussion topic. But that would be my recommendation. Moving on to the big topic is salary schedules. And last year, if you recall, we did not increase pay. We went with step. We did not give a raise. We typically every year give a we try to, if things are good, give a $500 raise to the base, which impacts every teacher. And last year we did not. So looking at our salary schedule right now, it is at 35, was it 35? No, it was at 36.3. So if we were to go up to 36.8, that would be, or actually it's at 35.8 right now, isn't it? So we'd go up $1,000. So that would be the difference of another $500. We double that to make up for not giving a raise last year. So with that being said, that would be $1,000 would be $210,000 increase to our budget. Now, right now, I think that is a safe bet. We do have a lot of money coming in. If money disappears, then we would have to look at not giving raises again down in the future. But this is going to get if you go to the salary comparisons, it's going to help us stay competitive with the other districts within our area. If you look at that salary comparison there, and you can look where we're at, 35.8, 36.8 puts us up there, and Rolla's going to go up, so they'll still be ahead of us. And that is just with the with bachelors only. And you can go dig down a little bit into the salary schedule and see where we'd be. Masters with 10. Right now we're at 44. Where are we at on that salary schedule? Masters 10. Let's see. Masters 10 at 45,625.
Yeah. So I
that
think we asked last year for our teachers to respect what was all going
And they
on
did.
of us not knowing, and they did a good job of it. I applaud. This would look like a good step to our teachers.
teachers were
in my opinion.
very, very understanding, and they understood the situation. I can tell you this right now that with the ESSER funds, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, we're transferring we're gonna be able to transfer a lot of money that we're putting the ESSER, we're using salaries right now, and then we're taking that money that we spend on salaries and pushing it into Fund 4. But we can't push all of it into Fund 4 because there's limitations on how much you can put in. You can only put it a 7% restriction of what you can put in that's required by DESI that you can or cannot put in. So we're gonna have to leave some of that into Fund 1 and Fund 2, which is gonna really increase our fund balances. And if our fund balances go way up and we're not giving teacher raises, that looks pretty bad. So also on top of that, competing with minimum wage. Also planning on recommending an 85-cent increase across the board to all classified staff. You know, right now, mobile, how much are the mobile workers? $13.50. So if you look across that, at this recommendation here, we would still, even with that increase, we would still have people making less than the mobile workers. So we're trying to be competitive, and I think this is the right thing to do at this time. So that, if we were to do the 85-cent raise, that'll be a $90,000 increase. So if you put the two together, between the teachers and classified staff, we're looking at right at $300,000 on salaries alone. You know, those are big numbers, but when you're talking $1 million, you know, $22 million budget, it's not, it's a lot of money, but it's the right thing to do. You want to make your investment in your most important resource, which is your staff. So these are just discussion topics at this time, and we have all kinds of comparisons on here for you to look at. If you want to, you got a whole month to look at this stuff and then ask questions before we approve this in May. One thing I would like to note is that there is some legislation out there, which is Senate Bill 24. I don't know how familiar or if you're staying up with all that, but they are talking about decreasing personal property tax, which reduces the assessment of personal property. If that happens, that's going to be tough to recommend this raise for everybody. So if that should happen with Senate Bill 24, where they're talking about reducing property 20% and capping it at 5% after that, the reality, will that really happen? I think a lot of people want that to happen because they're the ones, they want their assessments to go down, right? So, and that's going to be that's going to really impact public schools across the state if that happens.
Is that property taxes or personal property?
It's personal property taxes. So a lot of people that have a lot of personal property would like this to pass, right? So if they have large sums of personal property. So if this happens, it's going to be very difficult for me to come back here in May, or even if we have to wait till June to recommend the raises. But I'm very hopeful that, and I contacted Representative Sassman and thanked him for the stance that he's been voting on everything for public schools and been very good, and so he's a good representative. And then Senator Brown over here at Rolla is outstanding. Supports public education. So we have some good people in our area that are representing us. So that's something to digest for 1 month, and we'll come back to that, and hopefully we'll have more information about that Senate bill so that I can make that official recommendation in May. Okay? Moving on to extra duty stipends. And the extra duty stipend amounts, if the board approves the certificated salary, this is what the increases would be to all of the extra duties. And you can go and look and see what it is presently, if you'd like to look at that comparison. So it ends up being a 2.61% increase across the board. That's also something to consider for 1 month. And then lastly, there has been a lot of talk about a golf coach addition. And Coach Conway, who is presently the golf coach, has I know he's reached out to a few board members, and he sent me actually an email today, and I didn't have time to, I actually printed it, but I left it upstairs, but I can read that to you if you'd like me to. So, he says he's in his 22nd year coaching boys golf, and in those 22 years, he's had a few girls play golf early in his career, but the last few years, I've seen the numbers grow. A couple years ago, I had 3 girls participate in consecutive years. If one more would have come out, we would have had enough for a varsity team. I've also had some parents of girls ask me if St. James was getting a girls golf team. I told them I was an advocate for girls golf and felt if the district gave girls the opportunity to participate using the girls' standards, we could or should be able to field a full varsity and possible junior varsity team. I believe if we would have had a girls golf team over the years, there is no doubt we would have had state qualifiers representing St. James schools. And he named some girls, Shannon Boss, Peyton Engelbrecht, Hannah Shazery, all had the ability to make it to the state if they played on the girls' teams. They all almost made it to the state playing from the boys' tees. The girls who try to play golf during the boys' season are at a huge disadvantage due to the length of the courses they must play, whereas playing from the ladies' tees would make it easier, thus allowing them to compete better against our females. Also, the girls mentioned above were better than some of the boys golfers, which bumped the boys from a varsity spot to JV. If there was a girls team, boys wouldn't have had to be bumped, and the girls would be able to compete better against the other girls. He said that Shea Abel has been doing kids clinics at the golf course for the last several years. There's been an increase of girls participating, more from the younger girls, because some of the older girls don't want to play from the boys' tees, so they choose not to play. Coach Harlan gave a great presentation to the board a year ago, but due to COVID, there wasn't an opportunity for them to have a practice year to see how many would want to play golf. Coach E had a sign-up sheet and had decent numbers that showed interest, and with more promotion about it, there could be more girls that would like to participate. So going on, I feel the numbers will be there if the board and school district will give it a chance. Coach E and I have discussed this and agree it would be favorable to make a 2 to 4 year commitment and see if the program can grow. If after 2 to 4 years they can't field a varsity team, then that would be the clue not to have it anymore. I know there are some parents who have young girls that will play when they get older, and you named a few. Once the sport is in place, I think it would be one that will continue to get better. Look at the ladies golf on TV. They get great ratings. This is a life sport that they will be able to play when they are older, joining our course and playing ladies golf or couples league. And so he's just asking the board to give school district and the school district give the girls golf a chance. You won't know until you try, but I think you'd be surprised by the numbers if you approve to install it for the next year. So thank you for the consideration. So he sent this to me late this afternoon, and I didn't get a chance to get it printed out. So he's done a lot of work in advocating for it. He's leaving. He has no personal stake into it for next year, and it's just something to consider. And like I said, everything that we're talking about right now, these are just discussion topics. Any discussions on girls golf?
Barbara, I have a question. So were you on the board when the boys soccer team was there? And was that a temporary, like they had 4 years to field the team or fund the team, or what was it? Or
They had to be able to field a team, and I know one of the reasons we chose to discontinue the program was because they didn't even have enough kids for a varsity team.
Okay.
Much less a JV team.
Mm-hmm.
It was a pretty controversial vote, but I think we gave it 2 years. And then on the third year, when there weren't enough kids, that's when we decided to go ahead and strike it.
Okay.
And now I have to go back and look up.
Yeah,
the notes
no,
on
that's-
that, but off the top of my head, that's what I remember.
And this is a fall sport, correct?
Yes.
It's a separate season, and I didn't even know that. So
Girls are in the
yeah,
fall.
yeah. So just in talking numbers, if we were to have a second coach and have a second team, which would be the girls, we already have the boys, and then we would have a girls that would be adding a coach. Because of the MSHA stipend schedules that we approved last month, the amount that presently Coach Conway's getting, it has is gonna be bumped way down. So the head boys coach would be getting paid less, and then the head girls coach would be paid the same. We've figured they're both on the same step because of the years that they've actually participated or had experience. So it would be a difference of an addition of $1,889 to have two coaches based on comparing from this year, present year to next year. If we were to do something different, let's say have a head coach and then maybe an assistant coach, they just work together and maybe they somehow split seasons. I don't really know how that would work, but that would be a difference of $771. And that having the split season, that would make that difficult, I think,
What does?
because they would double it up. It's all doubled up.
So I know Rala is the same coach, boys and girls. He just coaches both seasons. I don't know if he has an assistant or not. You know, is he getting two stipends? How does that work?
I would assume since it's time, he's getting two stipends.
Okay.
I can find out though.
And then on the
They do.
golf course, what do we currently pay in rent, if anything? And have we discussed with the golf course if they would allow us to have a girls' season?
In the email he sent
pay
us. We don't pay anything.
That's what I thought, but have we had the discussion with him for
Yes,
fall?
he would do the same thing for girls.
And now, actually, he put that in there and I just didn't read that. I tried to skip. He had a lot, so.
Did Greg
I-
say last year, oh, I'm sorry.
I just feel like for $2,000 for 2 years, giving kids an opportunity, it's hard to pass that up. Personally,
And did Craig say, correct me here, last year when he made his presentation, it's like really inexpensive to go to, like $99 or something to go to a tournament or.
When they register for these,
Register.
yeah, I don't know the amount, but that sounds about right.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not very much, I know he said that.
I think the $99 was added on to this
Yeah, they have,
That's
Just
what
be
I'm thinking,
$100.
yes.
they have to register them, but then there's also, they register for tournaments as well, so.
How many kids do they need to field a varsity team?
4.
And I think they'll have 4 girls without any trouble. I'd like to see if they have a varsity and a JV team. would be
So
great.
say they had 10 girls, do
They
they have
take-
2 varsities, or they
No,
have to
they
take
take
4 and
top-
4?
They take top 5 in varsity,
Mm-hmm.
and then they take top 4 scores. So all 10 girls will get the opportunity to play every team.
They always just take the top 4 scores.
Yeah.
That's cool, yeah.
But they all get to play every.
Yeah, they do have varsity tournaments versus
Yes.
a meet or wherever that's both JV varsity. Well, I'm a golfer, so I mean I'm a fan of this, but and for the money, I think you're going to get a new group of kids involved that we have not let them have this avenue before. So
And I know there's some names that have been thrown out there, but just so you know, there's no names that are designated to this. This would be up to Chad Shockley and Greg to work this out. If we were to do this, there's no one that's guaranteed who the coaches are going to be. So they'd go through the normal process of the interviews and all that.
And as a golfer, I would also think this would be a great program for girls, you know, to do.
Well, I think you're gonna be pulling different girls than your volleyball and softball girls.
Yes.
So it's not gonna hurt our other activities during that season.
that was my one question: was there?
I really
are we
think
going to
it'll
hurt
be a
anybody?
different
Have
group
different
of
Okay.
girls.
playing, yeah.
I think that.
Is this something we want to go ahead and say we can, I mean, if you want to do that now, or do you want to wait a whole month?
I'd like to move it to an action
let's
conference
just
if
do
we
it.
can. Yes.
Make
Yep.
the motion, Barb.
I make a motion to move this to an action conference to vote on the golf coach edition.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Welcome, girls golf.
So one discussion that we probably should have had is, are we going to have 2 head coaches? Or are we going to split it in a different manner?
Based on the way I look at this, I don't know how we could have an assistant that, they would both have to do all the work if you have an assistant. So why don't you have the 2 head coaches with the expectation, since they're, with the expectation that the other coach assists for the actual competitions, not the practices, but for the competitions. Can that be an expectation?
Yeah. I think you need 2 separate, or or two coaches, even if it's the same person, they need to be considered two coaches, one for girls, one for
But-
boys.
But so,
Then we're gonna run into the driving stipend.
if they're a coach, then that wouldn't be,
But if we have the same coach, we have Barb Smith as the girls' coach and the boys' coach, who's gonna drive the JV van for each season?
well, I mean, no matter what, if we have to borrow people, that someone's
Okay.
gonna have to help, and
I'm-
there's
I'm
always that.
down. You do your thing. You're in charge.
Do we have an assistant coach now, or is it just?
Yeah, well,
Jim
we pay
Engelbrecht.
We have
a stipend
volunteers.
to someone.
We have
to-
volunteers who do it, and then they, because they help and they drive, we give them a driving stipend for each individual time they drive.
Like retired.
Sounds like a good first job for Chad. Congratulations.
Yes,
Fix your golf program.
figure it out, figure it out, Chad.
Pay me the pharmacist salary, I'll do it. So. All right, let's move on to action topics. The first one is on the Anthem insurance cap determination.
Okay, so I will make a motion to raise, I am getting old and I can't read, to raise it to whatever, 681.
681.
Okay, I'll make a motion to raise that, so we're providing the same amount of coverage per employee next year.
Which is a difference of 38.56 and an increase of $87,454 to our next year's budget.
Do I have a second? Discussion?
And you're confident we can afford all these raises, all this insurance?
This is
Just
where,
asking.
this is the first thing we have to do
Okay,
so that we can start working on making predictions for the budget. The other stuff, we're really gonna have to think about it, but I don't think we can run from this one.
onward. Okay,
Yeah, motion and second, and all those in favor?
aye.
Alright,
Opposed? Okay, passes. Then the, next is the FFA and city lease agreement.
So, we've been working with the city on trying to come up with a lease agreement that we can work with. We would like our FFA to be able to utilize this space without dealing with the city as much, and for us to be able just to have this lease. So, the city's attorney presented a lease for us to look over, and there were a few things that our attorney didn't like, so we made some adjustments. And the clean copy that you have here is the one that both parties are good with. And it's gonna be able to give access to that part of Nelson Hart Park for our FFA students and for the alumni group that is in charge of that. So there's gonna be some side agreements that we're gonna be making with the FFA alumni chapter, with upkeep of that property as we get into this. So we will be working out deals with the alumni group.
yeah, a majority of it will be donations to the barn fund, which is held by the school currently, so it will still go through the school, but correct, the school should not have to pay a dime for the upkeep, and then the other side of it is the only, if you want to call it a side deal, would be with the chamber. The chamber is guaranteed use during Grape and Fall Festival. That's the only time our kids would not have availability to it, would be during Grape and Fall.
To the arena.
Correct, to the arena
arena.
itself. The barn, well,
That's what I'm
the
just
barn,
thinking.
the barn is there, but the arena, correct.
On this area map too, it's got the old arena. I wonder if their footage
It's good.
still covers the new one. Good.
And I think we can all work together to make sure this is gonna work out, mainly so our kids have access and we can utilize it more
Mhm.
than just 1 or 2 times a year.
Well, the whole purpose of bringing this up, since I am on the supporters group, so all these barns have been built by livestock supporters throughout the years, and because it's extremely expensive to insure a building that you own on someone else's land, they were given to the city to be covered under their insurance, and the city was to be doing upkeep on them, and there hasn't been anything done. And so the last 3 to 5 years at the Grape and Fall Festival, we have been collecting donations to the barn fund, which is how those buildings were built, the newer buildings. The old building has been there since 70s probably. But there's a lot of upkeep that those barns are needing right now, and so without us pouring more money into them, without any upkeep, we wanted to see this lease come together. That way everyone knew who was to be liable for what issue, so then everybody knows what's going on.
That was my only question on liability, like for the demolition derby and stuff like that. There's usually like a lot of alcohol floats around through there, so then
It's a sublease. is how it'll
sublease on
work.
that. Okay,
Yep.
that's my question.
This really should not be any expense to the school district.
Okay.
So Justin, and you guys can do any kind of work on that that you need to then?
Yeah, we fundraise all the money for any of the barn work, and we're actually in process of filing for some grants for some upkeep on those buildings and maybe even extending them out, but without having this lease in place, we can't file for any grants or anything. So once we get this lease locked down, then we can start looking for more grants and everything, and most of them are match grants with the supporters group, so we can double up the money for the FFA club, and also the 4-H's and everything, but the FFA is the one that's pushing most of it.
So I need a motion to approve the FFA and city lease agreement as presented.
Motion.
A motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, it passes. Superintendent's report.
So, I'm going to give you a quick update on the ESSER funds. There's ESSER 1, just the regular ESSER CARES. That's already done. We've spent that money with, a lot of the PPE and just getting our school year started. That was a little over $600,000. ESSER 2, much more money that's going to be coming in. We anticipate that coming in May. They said late April, now they're saying May. So ESSER 2, we know is right around $2.5 million. That is guaranteed money that we are going to get, and that is one of the reasons that we are looking at making some full-scale improvements to facilities and some other things that will be beneficial for our students. We are able to take that money and transfer it, our teacher salaries, like I explained earlier, and that is an eligible expense. You take that money and then you can earmark it into your Fund 4 or for whatever you want it to go into. Things that ESSER 2 is eligible, resources is, like I said, salaries, repairs and maintenance of facilities, student learning, and we're calling that learning acceleration. A lot of people, they're trying to stop saying learning loss. We want to learn, they want to emphasize learning acceleration due to the COVID time lapse of not coming to school. So we're planning on reimbursing district salaries, which will free up the local and state money. So we're also hoping to draw the ESSER 2 funds in May, and a recommendation from DESE. I sat through a webinar today. Things that we can think about is intensive small group instructional interventions, extended instructional time, which would be tutoring and things like that. High quality summer school programming that focuses on math and ELA. After school programming, advanced and career credit, and which they really emphasize the importance of dual credit and dual enrollment courses that we definitely want. We want to try to provide opportunities to increase that. Advanced placement testing and all, just all the things that go along with helping kids get through all the challenges that COVID has brought to them. ESSER 3. ESSER 3 is still unknown. Lots of unknowns with ESSER 3. There's no clear guidance yet. In that webinar that I sat through today, talking with DESE, they just say, just hang tight. We don't have a clear set amount of money, but we are estimating it's going to be around $5.5 million based on what they're saying, the percentages of the difference. So that's why we really need to. This is a new stress that school districts across the nation are trying to. School districts are always worried about not having enough money. So in the next 2 to 3 years, and we have timelines on getting this spent. The ESSER 2 has to be spent by 2022. So, I believe it's September of 2022, and the ESSER 3 has to be spent by September of 2023. It might be October of 2023. So we have time to get this money spent, but that sounds like a lot of time, but really when you want to do a full-scale project and to do it right, and that's why we're bringing in these ESCOs, these energy service companies to talk about things that West might be able to do with roofs and HVAC and energy efficiency projects, that we can get a lot of these projects with a lot of money spent on good things that are eligible based on what the ESSER funds say how you can spend that money. The one thing about ESSER 3 is that 20% of that has to be designated for student learning loss, but we want to call it learning acceleration. So that's just my quick summary of ESSER funds. We are getting the ESSER 2 money very soon. It's going to be we're going to have access to it, and we have to apply for it and spend it. Well, we've already spent, Susan's putting in salaries, so we're going to already be able to apply for it and get that money and put it into our funds to sit there. And then hopefully we can get the projects done quickly and spend that money. And so the one concern I do have is if you hold on to it too long, will DESE try to reconfigure the formula? So I think that's a fear that a lot of school districts have, is how's DESE going to respond to this? How's the state educational system, how are they going to try to take more money from school districts if they have a bunch of money hanging out there? And if our fund balances go way up, if a bunch of school districts across the state have really, really high fund balances and we're not spending the money, that's going to look bad, and then that's going to give, in my opinion, a reason for DESE to say, hey, well, they don't need that money. They're just holding on to it. And we are supposed to be spending it on things for improving our schools. And there's very clear-cut list of things that we can spend the money on. So staying on top of that, and it's something that Tim's going to be jumping into, and there's lots of information out there, and there's more to learn, and it's kind of fun, but you got to stay on top of it as well. So, okay. Moving on to the financial report. Like I say, every month, the CARES money that we're receiving does skew our numbers. When you do the comparisons of the last year's money, and we had the $8 million in our revenues, that really makes it look like we had a ton of money that came in. But it definitely skews our numbers. If you ever have any questions on any of these line items, I have notations on every single one of them. So just let me know, let Susan know, and we will get you answers. Overall, if you take out all the bonding money, we are right where we need to be, and we're going to be fine. And we're looking really good, just to be honest, on our finishing up our projects and getting that bond money spent. And we're actually needing to move some of the soft cost money that we didn't know we was going to have enough of it, to put it into bond money, just so we can spend that bond money. So I really feel good about it, and there's a little bit of me that says that maybe we shouldn't have cut as much as what we cut. So, moving on. There's our newly hired activities director, Chad Shockley, met with Tim and I one day last week, and he really has some excellent goals for our school district and providing opportunities for our young kids. And I'm really excited about what his ideas, that he's taking these ideas from other school districts that have had success with developing successful programs for kids to develop in not just sports, but in vocal music and instrumental music and things like that. So this is just a discussion topic, really, more than anything else, and just information for the board to see. This is minimal cost. There's some tweaking that probably could be done to this based on the realities and based on if he's able to get people to really, buy into this and get in on it. I think that there's plenty of really, excited coaches that would like to jump in and get this going, and I think there's going to be some parents excited about it for their opportunities for their kids. So we just wanted to share this, that we have an incoming AD who's really got some great goals for our, and exciting goals for our school district. So we enjoyed that conversation. Tim, do you have anything to add on that?
Only thing that I have to add is just, it's pretty exciting. The reality of it is, if we're able to get something like this going, it's able to get kids in elementary sports hooked on sports at that age. The quicker they can get hooked on them, the more theoretically, the more our numbers should grow. And hopefully it pays off and we're more competitive in sports. So I think, as you guys can see on there, total cost, $2,000. For an opportunity to get kids here before school 4 days a week, ensuring every kid gets a meal, ensuring these kids are getting mentorship from people. I don't see how you can lose with something like that.
Well, and what I thought was awesome, and Dr. Johnson, you alluded to it, was the activities, not just sports. I mean, the fact that he's coming in and already including band and vocal, and I mean,
Yeah.
just really.
And you're right, I
awesome
probably
stuff.
should have spoke better and said activities.
No,
'cause
but
it is.
I mean, I know exactly what you're saying,
yeah.
just across the board. So
The kind of one of the most exciting parts is just the fact he's already talking of ways that we can do some cross-curricular stuff with the fact if a kid's going to come in and run a 40-yard dash that day, they can sit there and do the math equation themselves of how many feet it takes to get to 40 yards. And like that seems simple, but when you're talking to a third grader or a second grader, that's a good way to get them hooked and tie the curriculum to something they're obviously interested in.
I think that this is a great idea and everything. The main thing is just getting people willing to do it and be behind it. The funding isn't going to be a problem. This definitely, in my mind, according to the ESSER guidelines, this would be counted as extended instructional time. So this would be a COVID expenditure through the ESSER funds. So this is a pretty easy one. If you have willing and able people to do it, and it's going to benefit kids, I think we got to give it a shot. If it doesn't work out, then we can end the program. So it's a good idea. Just wanted you to know that we have some exciting things coming up for the students next year. Tim, you got the building level report?
Building level report. Good things. Wanted to start off with our Leading the Tiger Way winners for the month. Elementary, we had Shay Muir. Middle school, we had Vince Perona. High school, we had Becky Sandusky. On our classified staff, we had Tori Parker, Dave English at the middle school, and at the high school, Rhonda Kelly. To kind of just pull one big bullet point from each one of the building reports, elementary, they're living the spelling bee dream right now. They had top 12 students in each grade level that are preparing for their April grade level spelling bee. I think they might have just done that too, actually. Yesterday, because I saw the signs up. So that's probably updated since then. At the middle school, one of the big wins over there was 11,500 assignments have been saved through ICU. So that's essentially 11,000 assignments that kids weren't doing that we were able to put positive pressure on them to get them to do. High school, Mr. Stammers has expressed that his staff has gone full EOC mode with the students making final preparations, making sure that they have everything that they can have in to prepare the kids for the state testing this year. Just some extra stuff that I put on here. I sent you guys kind of a heads up email the other day with the instructional coaches changes. Obviously we had a transfer with that. We are going to, there's no expenditure increase, nothing like that. It's just we're going to kind of do some reformatting with the position itself. One of those things is just like everything, names and titles change, so the term instructional coach is kind of just fading out, and schools are calling it something else. Part of that is not relevant. The other part is it just is. But we're playing into the strengths of our people, so we're going to allow them to focus specifically on certain things, where in the past sometimes they were focusing on the same things, and they would find themselves not being able to spread out and get help with more teachers. So the plan with this is that we'll be able to provide more instructional help with everybody in the district. One other thing I just wanted to give a heads up with, one of the high school counselors had expressed to me that they're preparing to fulfill a DESE requirement for next year. Something that DESE says we have to provide with every student 6 through 12 is a sexual abuse prevention training. So within that, obviously your staff has to be trained as well. The counseling department is currently collaborating with prevention consultants and Kids Harbor to help us provide this training to the students next year. My understanding is that Kids Harbor has hired someone specifically for schools for collaboration. Obviously, when you're talking with sexual abuse with a sixth grader, that can be a sensitive topic. So you've got to make sure that you are approaching that in a way that you're not getting yourself in trouble. But at the same time, next year at the beginning of the year, if you hear a parent or something that says, hey, why are they talking about this with my kid? I know you probably won't remember this next year at that time, but I did just want to put it on your plate that is a DESE requirement that every school do that. So obviously it will be kid appropriate, but it's a mandate.
CSIP annual review, just want to remind you that that is scheduled for Monday, April 26th, 5:30 in the library. If things are where we can get into the performing arts, we might move it on into the performing arts to do it in there, but we'll just wait and see. So during this meeting, we're going to celebrate accomplishments, positive things, and then talk about ways that we can make some updates based on those district-wide needs. So just wanted you to have a reminder on that. Also, 3 energy service companies have submitted their RFQs, and we had made arrangements with them to come. Well, we told them Zoom, that we could present to us via Zoom. They've really been asking if they can come in person. They really want to come in person, all of them. So I told them I would talk to the board tonight and ask what would you rather do? Would you rather do Zoom? We can stay with Zoom, or would you like to have them come in person?
I would like to nominate a committee to deal with this.
Have 2 to 3?
Yeah. Instead of all of us coming in and listening to this, I think this is something we can delegate out to 2 or 3 people.
The only thing I could think that would be, I like that idea, that would be negative is that first group, PSI, actually everyone got to hear them give their first spiel.
Well, they can all email me all their stuff.
Okay. So yeah, if you guys want to do
The only thing
that.
that I'll say, and I honestly could care less, but we're talking about a $2 to $3 million expenditure.
Well, Wes and I met with them this morning, and we just told them that they want to know dollar amount. So we just said we want them to break it up into 3 tiers, 2 million, 3 million, and 4 million. And
That's my only
Yes.
concern with it being a small group. That's a big expenditure for. That's my only thing I'll say there.
the board would still, the committee wouldn't make the decision. The board would still make the decision. So.
And if you remember PSI, when they said that their initial numbers just for the elementary was like 5 million. So I mean, there's, 2, 3, and 4 is still not going to solve everything. So they might, when they present their presentations, they might be in completely different realms of what they think we should do as a project. So if only some of you come and you're passionate about making sure a certain thing is fixed, I could also see some issues there. Just throwing that out there. But there's going to be a wide array of information, I'm assuming.
Are we married to May 12th?
We are not.
That is just what we.
That is what we told them. It's the week before the regular board meeting.
We might all need to be here, so then we're not trying to relay everything they told us about each,
Kind of where I am.
what they're recommending. That's a lot of information for us to relay back to.
Yeah.
So
We all need to be here. I will not be here.
if one board member is missing, that's probably fine.
2.
Oh, 2? Well,
Wes knows what I want fixed. I think I made it abundantly clear over the past 6
I mean,
months.
you can have a board meeting with 4.
Yep, have a good time.
Is that all right?
That'd be
The rest
fine.
of us do it, so
Well,
that'd
and
be
I
all
can
right.
be here after
So,
7:40.
Wes and I are working on a scoring rubric for the board members to use on how they answer the questions and be able to rank each of the ESCOs based on if they are giving you the solutions that you think that we should be going for. So, and you're also gonna rank them on their how much money it's gonna cost and what projects they are focusing on. So, anything else?
12, right?
Unless you want me to tell them anything specific. So it is 20-minute presentations, 10 slides each. But that's just for their presentation. So we figured we'd have to have time for questions. And so, I mean, we kind of were trying to figure out a schedule.
Yeah, we're looking at about an hour per. So Tim can't be there till 6:03.
6:03.
And if we do the performing arts, might be 6:02.
Most Wednesdays I can probably get here right at 6. Just
Okay.
not today.
So if we do one at 6, one at 7, and one at 8, that's a late night, I know, and I hate that for you, but you know,
That's all right.
we'll be there and
We'll do it.
try to do the right thing. So
Okay.
So, can you have the people we've already heard? They're one of these people, right?
mhm.
Can you do them first? Because I could actually probably be here for 2 and 3.
Well, they actually requested to go last.
Okay. Well, whatever.
If you want them to go first, they'll do what the board
Let's
says.
have them go first.
So they'll go first. Performance services will go first. Okay.
The more board members we can have there for the
Yes.
new presentation, the better off we are.
So
Trying to make it difficult.
you're not making it difficult. So we will
By now.
we will put performance services first, and you probably don't care about the other two. We'll get those in the order that we
Okay.
feel is fair. Okay. I will make contact with them tonight and let them know. They might be listening in on the Zoom anyway. So. Okay, moving on to facility report, Mr. DeLuca.
Always sighed.
So we were just trying to finish up, I guess I'll talk about the project. Branco's still been in and out. They do not have substantial completion yet from the architects. They did a punch list, when was that? A week and a half ago, probably?
Well, he came back, 2 days ago, right? He's trying to narrow that down.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Branco's been trying to get their punch list finished. They did not get substantial completion because everything wasn't installed once. That's kind of the easy rule of thumb. If everything's been installed once, it can be wrong, and then they can get substantial completion and then they have a month to fix it. Well, it still wasn't all finished once, so they still don't have substantial completion as of right now, but they are working on their punch list. So then it'll be now having to get Dake Wells back in here to really do the final walkthrough. We've had a couple final walkthroughs, but they still don't have substantial completion, so it's not final yet. But we are using almost all the facility besides the auditorium. Band is in their room, band's using their storage underneath. We are actually sort of using the auditorium. AJ's been in there. I mean, we had our open house. I mean, we're using it, but it's still not done. So we're kind of forcing ourselves upon using it, I guess is how I look at it. Well, with that said, it's not Branco's responsibility for our audio-visual. We pulled that out of the contract originally per Dake Wells's recommendation, and we hired them separately. So they have been in here installing the speakers and the sound and all that. We were told 3 to 4 weeks, a week and a half ago. So, I mean, that's kind of what we're going off of, but, it's kind of, I have nothing to measure that off of. Is that going to happen or not? We're just going off what they said. They originally said month to 5 weeks is what it would take to do it. But then they had some problems with things weren't 100% done by Branco, so that pushed them out, and they didn't, so Branco caused the audiovisual people some longer times also. So they are working. I don't like to give dates because I'm always wrong, so I won't. But we are forcing ourselves in the facility, and it is gonna be used as much as possible. I believe.
The play, AJ, the drama, they're gonna have their presentation, or their play, it's the Descendants, the musical, next Thursday, so.
She's gonna
and-
use it regardless of it
Yes.
being done or not. She said it's done enough. We're gonna
Next,
use it.
so
I mean,
please come.
so we
It'll
are
be-
using it.
The very, and so she might have a makeshift, sound system, but they're gonna be on that stage, and people are gonna be sitting in the seats, and we're gonna have a performance.
We may have to turn the lights off via breaker, but
Yep,
we're
that's
doing it.
We're getting creative, so. Let's see, we've been buying
23 and 24.
cabinets and
Twenty-
choir
it's
equipment
next
and
Thursday.
band lockers, and we're trying to get all those things finished up. Even over at Tiger Cubs, we
22nd.
ordered some cabinets for them stored, so I say all that, we're trying to finish this, all the soft cost things they're coming, you know, it's still happening, but we're tidying up all sorts of loose ends. And then we're moving on to try to get this summer, some, I call them my real projects, trying to get some parking lots fixed and get some concrete where it needs to happen and replaced, and working on the new nutrition center. Been working with Linda on trying to figure out a freezer for that. So there's all sorts of other projects happening. If you guys have any questions on any of that, I know there's just a lot going on. So
Can you just discuss the parking lot just a little bit?
yeah. So now that the project's done, I don't know if anyone's noticed, the high school parking lot and it's pretty rough. So I'm gonna be recapping the whole high school parking lot to hopefully match what our nice new building looks like. And also some middle school parking lot improvements need to happen. We've been saying that forever. It needs it over there. We're gonna try to, the whole gravel area is gonna try to all be paved by this summer as well. So that's a big one that's coming up. And then finishing up over here, widening this road to the back of the new early childhood. We cut it out of the projects, but if anybody drives back there, you can see where everybody's driving in the dirt on both sides of the road every day. So we have to do that for finish up the project. So a lot of paving projects this summer, and then just trying to. I'll put a little plug in here. I'm trying to get staff. I have a lot of projects coming up this summer, and I'm having a hard time finding staff. Nobody will apply. Nobody wants to work. So that's I need you to do that 85-cent raise that he was talking about, because I'm already having a hard time finding people. So it's going to be worse as minimum wage goes up. So I'll use that as an opportunity to tell you. Anything for me?
Thank you, Wes.
Wes
Thank
is
you.
on it. They're really excited about all the things you're gonna be doing this summer, so I know you're excited.
I'm pumped.
Yes. Okay, MSBA news. The big news at MSBA right now, obviously, with ESSER. I've already gone into that, so I'm not going to talk about that anymore. The big thing right now with students and learning, they talk about adequate internet access for students in their homes. That's a big problem in all rural schools right now. Talked about new school board members, and within your first year, first 12 months, you're supposed to get 18.5 hours of training, Justin, so enjoy that. Also, they talked about the summit. It's called the Igniting Great Ideas Summit, which John will be going to that because he's a delegate. And that is June 18th and 19th, John Rapp
I feel like we're picking on this side of the room.
in Springfield. So they said valuable leadership opportunities, and you connect with other board members across the state. So there you go. There you go. They also announced that the 2021 MSBA annual conference is going to be in November. It's typically in September, but now it's going to be November 4 through 7 in Kansas City. Kansas City. So we have to check out Tony Gonzalez. We missed out. Listened to him last year. So I also would like to compliment John. He went to Bell with me to the MSBA Regional 12 meeting and got to learn some of the legislative information and got to see some of the other board members across the area, and then listen to some presentations from other school districts. And so that was a enjoyable night of learning. So John, do you have anything you'd like to discuss on that?
Vote. Encourage all of your legislators to vote no on every bill, it feels like at this point. There are a lot out there currently that is not pro public school. If you have any contacts with any state legislators, not just in our area, call anybody you know, because it's amazing how much they're coming after public schools. So
I contacted Bruce Sassman about the open enrollment, and that one's very scary. What could happen there with open enrollment? So he voted no on that. It was in the House, and so we don't know where that's at right now. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens with all that. So Senate Bill 55 is very dangerous. It's an omnibus bill. Has so many things going on with that. So and it's all anti-public schools. Very scary. So it's a tough time right now, especially due to the COVID and all the distance learning and the charter schools coming up and the vouchers. It's just it's a different time right now. So moving on to a few some announcements. We've been in close contact with Patrick Stites, and he's very supportive of us right now as a school district, all the districts in Phelps County. He really feels like we need to try to give our students opportunities that they've been missing out on. So we're making announcements here. Graduation will be, and Joe, you can add anything you want. Graduation will be May 21st. It's Friday night, 7 p.m. It's going to be a great event. It's similar to last year, right? Or last year's. And then you have some senior events there. The honors luncheons and the field. We're actually going to do some field trips, going to movies, and just several different things going on there. So if you have any questions, you can talk to Joe about that. And then the big one is prom. And this year's prom, we do have that scheduled for Saturday, April the 21st, from 8 to 11 at Matt's Steakhouse. 24th. I can't read. So it's going to be at Matt's Steakhouse on the April 24th. So the one thing we can say is that we had talked to Patrick. Joe called Patrick, and what was the first thing Patrick said to you?
Good. When I told him we were scheduling prom, he said, "Oh, good. I'm glad to see you're doing that." And we had, it's not on there, but we've made accommodations to reduce numbers, to open the venue up, we went through all that with Patrick, and he was good. Probably one of the biggest things is that I'm saying we, the two prom sponsors I've been working with, came up with a permission form that was very specific and very direct, that this is their choice, that you understand that if you're allowing your child to attend, that if something would happen, and they were deemed a close contact, they will be quarantined. So he made it, brought that up. You were specific that it's their choice, and it's not mandatory. This is extra. This is a choice. We're going to do everything on our end. On the permission form, it says to come into the venue, they at least have to have their masks on at that point. Be upfront with you. I'm not going to police it. It's their choice. But we will have the outside open, inside. So he was good. I talked about what happens if we do have somebody test positive, and he said just standard protocol. If they came in on a party bus, okay, that party bus is going to be identified, and things like that. I talked to two schools who had prom last weekend. One of them didn't have any, they used the form that we had developed, permission form, and they did have a student test positive, and they quarantined the bus, quarantined kids that were sitting at a table together, and they did not worry about the dance floor. Our venue's gonna be better because it's gonna have a better airflow, because we'll have that opened up. The other school tried to police the dance with the masks, and they said never again. They said that was the most ridiculous thing they've ever tried to do. They said it turned into just a nightmare. And kids were screaming at them. They said it was getting bad. It was getting ugly. So, like I said, we've reduced that. Probably the biggest things we've reduced permission for them, and then our numbers are going to be down because we're only allowing seniors to invite somebody. So.
Can I ask you a question about graduation?
Yep.
Do we have a rain plan?
Move inside. The biggest reason for that is I've already booked the sound. There's no way to move that date.
So we're just May 21st at 7.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
And I talked to the sound guy, and since we're gonna pay him, I'm gonna move him inside if we have to. I'll make that call like Thursday morning to allow plenty of time to get the word out to the kids. You know, the plan is we're gonna have graduation practice Friday morning. So that still allows families time to make adjustments. And Phil and I have been talking and trying to come up with, because if we move inside, we're probably gonna have to control numbers. And at that point, we would have to require masks, I think.
If you move inside, are you going to the middle school?
Yeah. So, yep, anything else on prom or graduation? Guess I'll hold my tongue just right on prom, so.
Patrick, I'd like to, he wanted the board to know that he wanted to send a message that like this year's seniors, they've already missed their junior prom. And he's like, it would be a shame if they miss both of their proms in their high school career. So it's worth doing this. It's worth the risk. And things are moving in the right direction. His numbers are going down in this area. So Patrick is behind it. And knock on wood. But Patrick is behind it and understands that there are risks, but wants us to do it. Wants us to do everything that we need to be able to do.
And I
With
called
guidelines.
with Stephanie, our nurse, so we were going back and forth with a lot of questions, but it was a good phone call. I feel like he's gonna work with us and he'll work with kids. Like, I think one of his points at the end was he doesn't wanna make it I forgot how he phrased it, but he doesn't wanna make it seem like he's going after people. So.
Okay, thank you, Joe. And that's it for my report.
Okay. So, we need to, go to closed session, discuss things.
Make a motion.
Got a motion? Second? All those in favor, raise your hand. Okay, we're in closed session.